Now, when I talk to other people and they say, "Oh, I want to get into social media," oh, but see, but see, but see. If your statement starts with a but, then you're not really ready to do something. You should.
Look, it's not even just a but. It's a well. That's when you know something's coming. That's going to be more of an excuse.
One, two, three, four.
One, I'm Michelle.
I'm Karamel. Good morning.
Good morning. Is it morning?
We talk. This is when we record. I don't know. We have to keep that a secret. Does it have to be a secret that we record in the morning?
No, it's not a secret at all.
Because it's the morning time, and I'm happy.
Oh, okay. What you
We should
happy
start. You know,
about?
we should start. We should start with a happy song on the podcast.
What's the happy song?
Because I'm happy. No.
No,
Okay. Well, good
no.
morning.
Good morning, because that happy song is played out. I don't think that kind of happy anymore. You know.
Facts, but you can overcomplicate things when you're often not going with the flow. You ever heard of anybody talk about going with the flow or going with the idea and just run? Let's just run with it. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, I'm not a going with the flow kind of person. I like to kind of know where we're flowing to.
Now, what is that about? Do you think that that's because you have control issues?
Yeah,
Would you think that most people, there's a difference between someone who goes with the flow, someone who is kind of free thinking, a doer versus a thinker, a doer versus someone who is not a doer? Like, what does that look like for you?
well, I'm a doer. I'm a thinker and a doer, and
Okay.
so that makes it really. I guess that makes me a little different because some people can think about it, but they never can quite get it done. Then there's some people who can't come up with the plan, but they can execute it flawlessly for
Yeah.
you. And so I think what puts you in another category is when you can think of it and do it. I have to be very careful because if my mind thinks it, it feels like it's got to do it. And so I used to run myself raggedy because that's what would be happening.
So in that situation, if you can think of it, I saw an interesting clip on socials where Michelle from Destiny's Child was talking about Beyonce. And when Beyonce thinks about a thing, when she sees it in her mind's eye and then she knows it can happen. And she has no reason to think that it cannot happen. And anyone who tells her no just doesn't know what they're talking about. And she gets what she wants.
And I know what that's like because if I can see it in my mind, then I can execute it. It's like once I have the vision, I can execute it. And it becomes real interesting because I found that a lot of people know that I'm a doer and I can execute. So
Mhm.
they'll come to me with their ideas and they're like, well, I think we should. No,
You
no.
asked me what I thought. So now that I'm having this conversation with you, I'm thinking about it. And here's the deal about a thinker, other word, visionary. And then, of course, you think doers, executors, right? People who are
Integrator.
right. Well, there's a combination. And to your point, there's a dangerous part. Like the most successful projects and people often involve a healthy mix of both mindsets. So whether someone's a doer, someone's a thinker, or a combination of both, that's where the danger lives, isn't it?
Yeah, because see, if you can think of it, then now you're in the thinkers sit around, they get stuck.
Mhm.
They get stuck in these traps of thinking and ever evolving and thinking and not moving. You have got to be a doer because to be a business owner, an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, you can't just get stuck in the mud. You've got to be able to see the next thing. You got to be able to move to it, and you got to be able to get there and do something.
You,
Don't just stand still. You got to do something.
you know, I do
Even
a
if it's a
lot of
wrong move.
Yeah, I do a lot of training of students who want to be entrepreneurs and want to be in business. And a lot of times what I hear them say often is, well, I'm trying to make sure that it has all the things because I'm the kind of person who it needs to be perfect. And I tell them, well, you're probably the kind of person who probably will never have a business, the one that you see in your mind, because it will never be perfect. What I've recognized over the years in being in business, none of this stuff is perfect. All of it is us figuring it out, throwing it on the wall, see if it sticks. And sometimes just every now and then you hit the nail on the head and you like, here we are.
And I think that's very interesting because I just recently come back a few weeks ago. The conference got finished, and everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, the flawless execution." Now, when I look at it, I could find 50 million things that could have
Sure.
been done better. Oh my
Sure.
goodness. But because you didn't know the plan, you don't know that it didn't go completely like it should have gone. But you
Even if
can't
you
worry
didn't
about that.
even if you didn't know the plan, the idea that everyone around you sees that there is perfection in what you've done, they say there was perfection and you feel like there wasn't, doesn't make it not or less perfect. If I
Well,
may.
but see, what I realize is that in this world there is a certain level, and I have learned that my 80% is somewhat 100% for others. You
Hmm.
understand what I'm saying? Not that I'm better or anything like that, but just the level that
Well,
I
that
like to
actually means that you're a little bit better, honey. When you are 80%, your 80% and someone else is 100%, which is not a bad thing to say. I think that's what you need to say in the time of being a business owner, having been in business now. We 8 years in the game, which says something about the tenacity and the doer and the execution and the visionary, all of the things.
the biggest thing for me is that I operate probably like 110% is where I want to be all the time and that what I want to give. So when it comes to that 80% and it's going to be about 100, I know it's a lot of numbers. People like, wait a minute, that's too many numbers, Michelle. What I'm trying to say is I want to be so the level that I want to operate on, it's so high for me. I set the bar so high for myself that even when I don't achieve that, other people will be highly impressed with it. And so I don't know if that makes me kind of puts too much pressure on me as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. Sometimes I'm always going, and I never stop. A problem that I have is I never stop to look back and go, "Oh my goodness, that was so great. Oh my goodness, that was so good," or enjoy the fruits of my labor. I'm always looking for the next thing.
Well, so McCoy and I are having a conversation. That's my husband and I. We're discussing the idea that he had gone to the pinnacle and reaching the highest of the enlisted rank and recognized now he doesn't want to do that anymore. He wants to be regular. And when he's saying it, he says, I don't want the added pressure of believing I have to go to the next level when this level is perfectly okay. I've done that hard, heavy lifting.
And that's called being content. And I can be content on whatever level I'm on, but it's always, I don't know what it is inside of me that's always driving me. And so kudos to him to getting to the point that he just wants to be Clark Kent. He doesn't have to be Superman. He wants to be Clark Kent. He won't keep the glasses on all the time.
Well, I'll say this. When you're talking about someone who is a doer, the belief is there is no other option but the doing, right? We're going to get to the actual finish line. There is no other option. I
Now
noticed
I
that.
have now I have developed a skill now where I can say no. I have developed that skill. I think it
Well,
came
saying no and it being something that cannot be done is a different conversation.
well,
It's
no,
just you're saying no, I don't want to do it.
no, that's what I mean is I've had to start doing that because what'll happen is people will, because especially if I'm in a group and
Mhm.
we're all sitting around talking about something, we say, "Hey, we want to do this." Well, my mind says, "Oh, okay, we want to do this." I'll start calculating how we can do it, how we can get it done. Next thing you know, I've taken on a new project and I'm doing something else and I'm getting it done. And people will sit back and they will allow you to do that. Or you can say no. You don't have to say it out loud. You can say no in your mind. And guess what? If they really want it done, they'll get it done.
Well,
They will.
to your point, that's making a decision to protect your peace and protect your battle rhythm because you have a lot of things going on as well. I think most people think it feels and looks like it's so effortless that there wasn't a lot of work being put behind that. I work from home. And working from home, no one ever understands or sees the effort that is being put into this business to make some things shake. If I don't go out here and shake a tree, leaves don't fall down, the pecans don't fall down, so I can pick them up and spend them. Pecans, of course, is the money. One of the things I believe in very strongly is I simplify decisions and I call them the lowest common denominator, which means let's not overcomplicate a situation when really all we're trying to get after is this one thing. Most people miss that part. They see all the obstacles around the solution and around getting to the finish line with what we see we're going after, instead of going to the root of it and say, well, this is what we need to do to get after it and then back it up. it doesn't have to be so complicated. And I think that's the difference between my visionary doer executing integrator idea.
I
That I
think
want
what
to do it
I
that
think
way.
what hap I think what happens when we're in this situation, there's a mindset. And so there's the mindset of a doer, I'll figure it out as I go.
Hmm.
And then there's the mindset of the thinker, I'm not ready yet. I'm not
Hmm.
ready. I'm not ready. And you keep telling yourself, well, you are ready.
Hmm.
It's time. Let's go ahead and make it happen.
Hmm.
Let's get moving. I remember when because I decided I wanted to do social media, and I'm like, okay. And you and I had been talking about it for years,
Yeah.
years, years. And just one day, it seemed like the barrier was gone. Someone said a simple formula, okay, Monday motivation, Tuesday tip, winning Wednesday, small business Thursday, and freedom Friday. And that little nugget opened my mind that, okay, make a video on Monday that's something motivational. Tuesday, give a tip about insurance industry. You see what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
it made it, and then the tools that are out there now that make it really easy for you. So then
Hmm.
I was able to get into it, and I'm a consistent person. One thing about me, if I start something, I can be very almost neurotic in being consistent.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so when I wake up in the morning, I realize, okay, I'm gonna post, and I throughout the day I'll create a post, and I have some posts stored, and I get something up. And so because that's what I said I wanted to do, so that's being a doer. Now, when I talk to other people and they say, "Oh, I want to get into social media," oh, but see, if your statement starts with a but, then you're not really ready to do something. You should
Look, it's not even just a but. It's a well. That's when you know something's coming that's going to be more of an excuse. Here's the deal. Simplifying decisions, I think, make that because you simplify the decision. Now that you're in, all right, the decision is I'm going to post every day. And this is how I'm going to do it. And it becomes system, part of a process. Something that is systematized typically doesn't break down.
and preparation is really important to your
Mhm.
planning. Now, I'm not saying to be a doer, you don't have to have planning. And I'll give you an example. And this might not be, but I just want to tell this story. So I've been eating right. And so we've been on this plan. And so the part of the success for this weight loss plan is the preparation that I put in.
Sure.
So every day I prepare all of our food. So the food is there. So when it's time to eat, we're ready to eat. So a few weeks ago, it was a Saturday. We were having some family over, and it's a football game. And what happened, we had all this bad food, and we can resist. We can resist. I realized the way we can resist the bad food is having our food prepared. Well, I had everything prepared, but I didn't prepare dinner. And I was like, oh, I'll just start cooking it around 2. It won't be a problem, blah, blah, blah. Well, the bad food was there, bad food that we love, like rotel dip and French fries and wings
Hmm.
and some
Hmm.
of my favorite things. And I cooked the rotel dip and the little smokies and stuff. And that rotel was some good rotel. And so I realized because we didn't have our food ready, our dinner, we justified, well, we'll just eat a little bit, just a
Right.
little bit. And then that's when I realized, I said, oh, when you are a doer, and if you're going to do and stay on this eating program, I've got to do it all the way. I can never let myself not have some preparation. I can't.
Hmm.
So now I have some emergency food in the refrigerator, meaning I've made up some turkey patties. I've got some Brussels sprouts and some squash that was left over from a meal that's in there. So in the event we get in a situation, I got something I can throw together real quick.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? Because if you don't plan, you'll fall off the rails. You won't get it done.
Well,
If you don't,
here's the deal. There's a genius, in my opinion, around being a doer. The genius of being a doer allows you to take a step back from dreamland and actually into execution land. And execution land, when you're there, the possibilities seem endless. And that's where we live. But when you live in that space where you are still dreaming about the next step and phase, you will allow yourself to sit in dreamland and never wake up. And I think that is where it becomes an actual problem. No disrespect to anyone who has decided it just isn't their time and they're continuing to think about it. I think those are the people who I'm not saying that they're wrong for their activities and what they're doing. I would just say you're not actually ready for the next thing.
you're a procrastinator, and sometimes you have to own it. You have to say it because see, the sweet spot, the true genius is it's a mix of both. It's thinking enough to plan, but doing enough to grow.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Because see, at some point, we've thought about it, we've planned it. We gotta just put it out there. We gotta just
Mhm.
do it. I love one thing I love about my best friend. Her motto is go fast.
Yeah, it's fail fast. I know you don't like the word fail, but I'm one who believes in get after the conversation, throw it out there right now to see how it worked and see if there was a barrier. If there's a barrier, then okay, we need to figure out the way around it. But if there's not, then you've already gone. And I think for me, even in this business, with all of the changes that are happening around the world, and it's not industry specific in this season, what's happening to businesses and tariffs and money and how hard it is to borrow and how expensive money is these days. It is not lost on me that all of those pressures can keep somebody at bay from starting. But I tell my students, I made it through COVID. I feel like I can make it through anything. A
And you
tariff
gotta
be damned.
you gotta have a conversation with two. Another thing to help you be a doer and thinker, from a thinker to a doer, you got to get with people who are in the industry who are doing what you want to
Sure.
be doing and find out what they. I remember when I first came into insurance, I did a phone call with several agents. I think I called 5 6 agents, and I asked them, give me the 3 things, knowing what you know now, give me the 3 things that you would do knowing what you know now. And I think one of the things was training your staff,
Hmm.
making sure you have a good lead source, and one more thing that they told me, and I got this as I talked to these 5 6 different agents, I got the same conversation of what they would do. So when I started, I did those 3 things that they said, and I was able to have success. And so I think that that is the thing that I'm looking for now after being 8 years in the business. I need to go and talk to some of those people who are winning and say, with what you know now, what would you recommend that I do now? And
Hmm.
so, because that's where I am now in this well, going on this 8 years, I'm like, okay, what's the next step? And I know you've sold a business.
I
And
have.
so I really didn't have or don't have a succession plan. I know my husband has talked about, he works in the business as well. He says 62 is his number. He wants to retire at 62. He's a few years out from that. So, but in my mind, retirement is not there. So
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, what am I, how do I get myself into thinking about these things? How do I have these types of conversations? Because I'm a doer. And I'm
Hmm.
like, as long as I can do, what is there stoppage for? Why
I
would we
think that
stop?
there's a plan for the succession, and in that plan, it allows you to level out the dreamland part because as a visionary, as a someone who executes, as someone who's a your doer, you can stay in a perpetual dreamland, which is what McCoy is saying when he's talking to me about that. He's saying in a perpetual state of always moving, always going. At what time are you actually able to chill and, to your point, smell the roses? What did the smelling the roses look like? For me in this season, I'm looking for embracing the discomfort. There has been discomfort in every levels and in a lot of the stages in the business. No business is successful and it's always an upward trajectory. Most people see the trajectory at the top and say how great when they're at the pinnacle, but not understanding what that up ramp looked
Yeah.
like.
And
And
I know you all, when you say doers may fail faster,
mhm,
but they also win faster. Just
mhm,
like you
mhm.
figure out the barriers, then you quickly figure out what works. So
Sure.
that's a part that you want to do. So take that doers may fail faster, but they also win faster. So
And
be mindful of that.
that discomfort that lives in not knowing where the next dollar is going to come, the next sale is going to come, the next person, customer, all of the things, not understanding that sometimes there are other industries that will affect your industry. When the airlines
Ooh,
don't have air
baby.
traffic controllers, how do I get my travelers to Morocco? Right? Like
You know,
that
when
is.
the body shops start charging astronomical prices, that
Mhm,
affects insurance. The parts, when you couldn't get the chips, and now the parts and labor, what ended up happening that made rental cars, people had to keep their rental car longer because you couldn't get the chips to get the
mhm,
cars repaired. It just was a snowball effect. insurance rates went out of the roof, and people couldn't understand. Well, why are the insurance rates? Because everything in the world going up.
It's the
That's why.
second, third of effects of those things, right?
And
And
once it goes up, guess what? A lot of stuff
they
goes
typically did not go back down again, and they stay at those record levels. And my mother was just talking to me the other day, and we were having a conversation about, she was in Walmart, I think, or one of the other big box stores that may not have been Walmart, and she saw her toilet tissue. Oh my goodness, another $2. I just bought this. I said, well, Mom, be prepared that it's going to go up another $3. What you paid $10 in the summer is now going to be $15. We're talking about a 50%.
crazy. That's crazy.
But it's because of what's happening in the industry specific. And if you're not willing to embrace all of that discomfort and all of the changes, then you're not ready to embrace what business actually looks like.
And think of it like this: when you're thinking builds ideas, but doing builds evidence of those
Mhm.
ideas. And I want you to be very mindful of what we're talking about. You're thinking, you have ideas. Okay, I want to build. You're the architect. Okay,
Mhm.
but you
Mhm.
got to have a contractor to build that, to give you the evidence, because you can have pretty drawings all day long, but if somebody can't come along and make that concrete and evident, you're not going to have anything. So think of that in your business.
And so I had a conversation with one of my folks who work with me, and she had sent me this spreadsheet that looked so beautiful. I mean, it had like the check boxes and the drop down boxes. It was red and green and color coded. It was just beautiful. And I thought to myself, I don't care a flip about this spreadsheet tracking what the revenue is. How about we work on getting the revenue? And I remember saying to her, like, look, we can't just I don't care nothing about your spreadsheet. Now, I know that works for you and that's what you need. But as the person who's always thinking about the higher level, how we're going to get over this hill and what we need to do, my mind cannot fathom talking about pretty structure of a spreadsheet. And so it's a happy medium, of course, right? Because she is
So
absolutely a
you're
doer.
like a plan without action is just a wish list.
I mean, I just looked at, I said, so we got a spreadsheet to track some money we haven't gotten yet. Let's track that money once we got it.
Look, you want the money in your bank account, then we can figure out what it is.
Well, ultimately, we've been running it for a while. Having that spreadsheet is a nice to have. I'm not disregarding it, but I'm saying the priority was not building a pretty spreadsheet. The priority was building the system in the machine that was going to connect us to get the revenue that she was actually trying to track. And so
I will say this about being a doer.
Mhm.
It can feel like the fire hydrant is on all the time.
Sure.
And
Well, that's where systems and routines come into play when you start have systems. So now, again, here I am saying about the spreadsheet, that absolutely is a system for her to keep her mind together. And there's nothing wrong with it. But I'm saying focusing on things that are not the revenue generating or the things that are going to propel your customers' experience or something that's going to help your business grow is actually something that would be a distraction. So you have to limit those type of distractions.
yeah, because I look at it, and so the problem is the road to success. It doesn't have just green lights.
No, it does not.
It's like you get going, then something happens. And it's like my business, the going is, I'll have my team, I've hired people, I got people trained up. I'm like,
Mhm.
we ready to run. I got the leads coming in, everything's perfect. That'll go for a couple of months, then boom, something happens. Somebody wants to leave, something happens, this person not working. And I just think myself, can it just not run automatically? Can't we just put the system in place and it just run? No, it's like marriage. Marriage doesn't just run. You got to work on it and work on it and love on it.
So, I'm not turning the business upside down, but I am standardizing what we're trying to get after and going after the things that already exist and accentuating the positive. Here's my example. You got a couple of different revenue streams. I've got the main thing, which is the high ticket item. Then I've got the low ticket item and some things in between. Well, we've never put any emphasis on the low ticket item to get that growth, what we call monthly recurring revenue, MRR, where we just go for the gusto, give me the big ticket, right? Give me the big hit. Well, I'm recognizing now I've got to make sure that I have both, because in seasons when the big ticket doesn't do well, low ticket will do better. So let's go ahead and have this cadence where we have this always a lever happening here to where we can kind of equal out where we need to get after. That is something that is not revolutionary, but is we're standing it up properly in this season.
Listen, you got to know how to make. I call it being able to make money in all seasons at all time.
Sure.
I'm looking at right now. We have the studios that we lease out to
Hmm.
people in the health and beauty industry. Well, I'm actively seeking another place to get to have to rent out some more studios because that is a very lucrative business. Now I just got to find space. But the key is I've got to find space that I don't have to do too much to in order to get it going. And
Sure.
it's a fine line, and it's just like I tell you, finding the next business. And so I'm looking for something online to be able to do and offer the things that I want to offer and do and make that a revenue.
Well,
But
revenue income streams make a difference to them in anyone's business. And you don't understand it until you got one source of revenue that, again, is in a bad season and you need another source that's in its up season.
and it's so funny because right now I don't want one of them. Like the main insurance is the main revenue stream.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
trying to get it to where that is not the main. I don't
Hmm.
want to have a main revenue stream. I want to just have 5 streams. You know what? I might need to go up to 10 streams so I can get to the 5. Because for some reason I've been talking about 5 for a long time and I've been slow rolling getting to it.
You know what's so funny? You're saying that we had the real estate, then we had the travel business, then we had the training business. I That was 3 for me. I don't know if I want all of those revenue streams. I just
I
need some that are consistent. So I did also add the investments that we did. I've invested in oil and gas, so that would be 4, and that little money is coming in great. And then I had a promissory note doing some owner financing. So I was like, okay, these are 5 streams. How can I level them out to where I don't feel any brunt, to your point, of the market swaying back and forth? And that's the definition, in my opinion, of the wealth factor, when you are able to brunt all of the things that are happening around you that industry is being affected by, and it's not affecting you in your pockets and affecting your family. That's ultimately where I want to get to. And that's, I think, again, at the pinnacle of having been in business so long, having spent the money like I've spent it, having spent it wrong, having done it bad, having had
No,
things that
you
go
spent
wrong.
some money wrong. Oh my goodness, no. Really?
Because I don't want anyone on here to believe that the decisions that have been made have always been the right decision. I have
No,
been able to overcome them, but
that's the
they
problem.
haven't always been correct.
Now that's where the thinking comes in because we didn't had to pull a rabbit out of a hat because some thinking didn't go right or something didn't happen. And hindsight is 2020. I stand on every decision I made at the time I made it because I made the best decision. I trust myself that much that whatever decision I made in the past was the best decision at that time that I knew to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with the new information, hindsight, would I do something different? Yeah, because I know something different. Of course, I would do something different now that I know something different. But at the time, I did what I thought was the best decision with the information that I had. Because I'm a researcher, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna find out, is this the best thing at the time? So I don't beat myself up about it. I want to end with this: is that if you are a thinker, there's nothing wrong with being a thinker. Connect with somebody that's a doer that maybe can help you move into that. Plan without action is just a wish. Just always remember that. And thinking about it means that you want to do it. Because if you do want to do something, you're doing it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Small, set, clear, timed goals will always make a difference for someone who's trying to get out of the thinking mode into
Just
the doing
start.
mode.
Just
Just
start.
start. Very
You know,
small, actionable steps.
if you stay in your head too long, you'll talk yourself out of your own greatness. You know what I mean? You'll talk yourself out of it. You'll start being where, you'll come up with all the reasons you can't. Come up with the reasons you can. Just
I tell everyone, I don't care nothing about the no's. I
oh
only
no,
care about the yeses.
exactly. Best friend, I've enjoyed talking to you. I feel like when we get these conversations going, I hope they're helpful to somebody.
Hmm.
If they are, click like and share. Tell somebody about us. Comment below. We love to hear from you. What you have to say. These conversations have to be had, and they're real conversations. Because listen, everybody else telling you, oh, you can, you can't. We telling you the real. Sometimes you fail fast. But guess what? That's how you win fast. You got to make a move. You got to do something. So if you're looking for your sign, this is your sign. This is the time to do it.
Get started.
Love you, best friend.
Love you too.